Hello and welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers Lore. Today we'll be talking about Taylor Eardhardt, the true leader of the Wild Force Power Rangers. Sorry for all you Red Ranger fans out there. Now I know it is a very controversial statement to say the Red Ranger wasn't the true leader of the team, but in this case it is 100% true. I will give you a full list of reasons why, as well as explaining the bigger backstory that is Taylor while going on. Now let's start with her history. Now, she has a direct connection to Animaria, well, because she saw it as a young child. None of the other Rangers knew what Animaria is until they were basically adults or high teenagers, such as for Max. Now, she was flying in a plane with her parents to some location when she looked out the window and saw the flying turtle island that is Animaria, the reverse of Atlantis. It was lost because instead of descending to the ocean, it ascended into the sky, and no one knew exactly where it was due to the cloud cover that was magically always around it. However, it decided to reveal itself to this young girl. Nobody believed her at all, and little did she know that one day she would be its champion, or one of its champions, the very first in truth. For this very reason that no one believed her, she wanted to fly to find her childhood dream of finding this turtle-shaped island. Now, over time, kind of forgot about it, but she loved flying, and her fascination with planes even grew even further, leading her to join the U.S. military, the Air Force per se, and becoming a very skilled pilot, earning the rank of lieutenant. Now, it is very hard to become an Air Force pilot per se as a jet pilot. A helicopter pilot's a little more dime a dozen, but a jet pilot is kind of very hard. If you guys didn't know that already, you can't just walk and go, I want to be a jet pilot, because 90% of people who join the Air Force go, I want to be a jet pilot. You have to hit these certain requirements, and they are very hard to do so because it is a very expensive piece of technology for the U.S. military. So when they show that pilots are very arrogant in the U.S. military for this, it's because, well, they deserve to be. Now, while flying around with her squad one day, she witnesses something that is beyond imagination. Completely beyond imagination, entirely. Last time she was flying up in the sky in this area, she saw, as a child, an Animarium. But that was become a fever dream at this point. No one believed her. Well, this time she sees something else as an adult. She looks over to her right and sees the Yellow Eagle Wildzord just soaring in the sky beside her. Now imagine this scenario, guys. You have military-grade technology flying around in a jet. You look over to your right and you see something the size of Rodan, Godzilla's one of Godzilla's greatest enemies, and you just look over and go, "Oh my God, I'm about to die." That's essentially how that was, except for she didn't pull the trigger and start firing upon it. Instead, she followed the Eagle Tanimarium and kind of crash landed it, because when you are so high up, you don't expect to see mountains, and then there's mountains, and they just form like the ring around the turtle itself so people just don't fall off. She crash lands there and eventually finds Princess Shayla in stasis and awakens her, along with the temple that she would serve as her house for this allotted amount of time. It's never specified exactly how long she was Ranger before everybody else showed up. Now, it is specified when Max and Danny showed up about 6 months later, we got none other than Cole. However, it's never specified for this amount of time. I would say probably give it a year or two that she was actually the Yellow Ranger. Fighting by herself, we don't know how long that was. Probably about a year, I would say, just because of the way she was acting. Now, her military training and past made Taylor a bit of a cold-hearted bitch at times. Yeah, I'm gonna say that word. She's very tomboyish, very insensitive, and kind of just like mean. But she did it because she knew that this was a life or death situation every time she went out and fought. Most Rangers don't put that. They go, "Oh, this is a kicking good time." Oh no, she was trained by the military, and you don't mess with these type of things. She was a rigid leader at times. She cared about the people. She said there's certain rules of engagement we follow, and this is what we do. She even wrote a book about how to be a Power Ranger for the rest of the crew, of Rangers. Now, why would she do this? Alyssa's very good at reading books. She's the most studious of all of them, and she probably appreciated it. She was, okay, this is a good, enlightening thing. But mainly probably wrote the book because of Max and Danny, who were big jokesters and small children at heart. She's probably also, as she got to know Max more, probably more upset that he was chosen because he's not a very serious character, and she likes to take command of situations and focus on the task at hand, while Danny and Max seem to be, they obey, but I think it had to be drilled into their minds after a long period of time. And it's probably the only book they were forced to ever actually read. Now, in battle, she often takes charge and engages the orcs first. She knows that she can't give them any ground, or they get stronger and more knowledgeable. Remember, these orcs, when they wake up, they are just coming back. They're kind of like small children, just going, oh, wow, this is nice. This is nice. Let's pollute it. She stops them when they say it's nice. She knows what the rest of it's going to be. They're going to attack humanity, and this caused nothing but misery. Now, when she does that, she has proven that she is capable of fighting orcs alone in battle, while the others are not available at times, and has done so. Now, the one she fights the most is her long-time Nemesis, Jindrax. Now, they have often engaged in battle, exchanging a lot of banter, per se. Kind of equivalent, not as equivalent as Spider-Man banter, but they're pretty bantery between the two. Jindrax is much more banter than her, but they're kind of like old rivals in per se. They're both very skilled swordsmen. She uses swords, Jindrax uses swords and darts in battle, and they're often fierce battles of heavily exchanging blows on one another. And to the point where these battles become so intense that her ranger shoot is shredded after battles with Jindrax. So, it just says something right there. They have a very deep love-hate relationship. I would say they have a lot of respect for each other deep down, but it's never going to show its forehead. Like, it's never going to come out and go, I respect you. No, it's going to be like going from really far away in a small corner, going, I respect you as a swordsman. That's kind of what they're going to get for that. Now, here comes the hard part, because this is where we don't know how long she was fighting these orcs. Now, it is implied, heavily implied, there was a long history of battling between the two, stemming back to when Taylor first became a ranger, and was the only ranger at the time. Now, when we first see Jindrax and Toxica, they are both as dog catchers. But mind you, we don't know if they also woken up like other orcs from stone. We don't know what they were doing the entire time. Did they just go, we gotta wait? It wasn't until they sensed Master Org's appearance that they caught back in the fray of things. Now, she could have been battling Jindrax and then later Toxica, or Toxica could have revived Jindrax. We don't know the exact order of things, but we know that they were fighting against Taylor at some point by herself, and then probably the rest of the team would eventually fight against as well. They were disguised as humans, and they probably were just learning about the world as time went on. Now, the only time she didn't battle Jindrax is when he became Super Jindrax, only because she was gravely injured by Super Nazor, and then was trapped in Limbo. So it was kind of a thing there. I would have liked it to see her battle Super Jindrax, because it's one of those situations where you have this respect for an enemy, or even if you don't want to admit there's a respect for an enemy, that she would see him turned into this basically murder machine that it was against his own will. So I would like to see that add-on, like, oh, what did they do to you? Oh my goodness. Like, I would like to see her go, like, there's a different respect there. Like, how dare they do this to you? They took away your free will and just made you a killing machine. Where did our old battles go? Now, everything would change one day when a man stumbles out of a jungle and has no idea how the world really works, because he's been raised by a tribe in the some unnamed jungle somewhere, and was also raised by monkeys, and claimed he could talk to animals and they could understand him. His name happened to be Cole Evans, and he also turns out to be the new Red Ranger of the wildforce Power Rangers, officially kicking her out of the leadership mantle. Now, this really upset Taylor, because she had put all this work together, at least a year or two of fighting battles of the Rangers against the forces of darkness, And then as soon as this guy comes out of nowhere, looking like Rambo mixed with the crocodile hunter, goes H.G. Butte, stuff like that. All this stuff. He has no wide sage advice besides facting that he doesn't like her book because the only rule of the team needs to be teamwork. That is kind of weak on so many levels. I felt like they screwed over her character instantly by doing that, and I'm glad that she just didn't go, "You're right." No, instead, she goes, "F you, buddy," essentially, and resents him immediately that she's now relegated to the second command position because she built the goddamn team. You don't go to the person and go, "Hey, I know that you did all this work and stuff like that, but I'm not going to give you any credit. So, F you, buddy, get to the side." That's just rude on so many levels. Yeah, I'm just gonna put that out there. Don't ever do that, guys. And then she looks back at like the group for support, and they also all kind of abandon her. So that she just goes, "You know what, F this," and storms off of Animaria in a fuel of utter rage due to the lack of respect of all about what she stands for. She wrote a book, and he just goes, "Yeah, no, there's only one rule, and it's family." Like, imagine basically just replace the character of Vin Diesel there. It's kind of works a little bit better. Family, and I would get infuriated by that too. And you could like look together, and she could go like, "I don't even know who you are, so you don't even have a family." Wow, sick burn. Sorry about that, Cole. Now this would cause her to be attacked by a new org on the spot, none other than Camera Org. Now, mind you, here is the little thing of orgs. They take little aspects of the culture of the time and transform into it. He found a camera, and it mutated him into essentially Camera Org. Now each one is entirely different or based on the surroundings around it. They don't have any further names besides Camera Org or Motorcycle Org or stuff like that. Now, this would cause her to turn invisible because of the snapshot. It would show her picture, and it slowly her image would slowly dissolve. Now she's made entirely invisible, which sounds like a good idea, except for it's making her weaker as time goes on. It also hurts the fact that at the same time her old rival Jindrax kind of kicks her butt, and she's unable to land even a single blow on Jindrax or Camera Org, ending up in a very definite, life-threatening situation, all because she got a little angry at Cole, who was not really respecting her authority and all her rules that she'd set up to create this team. Now, mind you, it's not like her rules were bad. She literally built the rules because, you know, she's been fighting 2 years, and this is the best example of what she could do for when she's given new people to throw in this situation. As I stated before, the Rangers would come in because eventually they would find out about her fighting alone against this monster, and Cole, for once, feels entirely guilty for putting her in the predicament that she currently is, because he was the one that caused this anger, and he's kind of really dumb because he didn't think about it at the time. He didn't think that upsetting the balance of power would do anything. Now, mind you, I don't think always that the team leader should be the Red Ranger just because he's the Red Ranger. I feel as though there should be a whole graph chart of who is the best actual leader here. And in my opinion, it's not Cole. Mind you, he's the most story-driven of all the characters here, besides Merrick himself. But Taylor is the one who has the most backstory of creating the team. That is the first time ever I've seen where another Ranger has created a team rather than just the Red Ranger or the mentor character. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. Now, Cole manages to vow to save her life. He's like, "I'm going to save your life and return your body back." And he does so. After doing so, he managed to free her as well as all the other victims of the Camera Org's deeds and just like random attacks he's been doing. And he destroys the film cartridges, in which this causes Taylor to realize, like, well, maybe he does know how to lead a team because you didn't need my help at this time. You could just lead these guys naturally, which is a good show of there, but still not exactly the best thing of leadership. Because the only reason it was caused because she was in a life and death situation, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I feel bad about that. Okay, team, let's make my guilty conscience feel better." I don't know if that's good proper leadership, but hey, whatever. But also, mind you, the person who told her that he was supposed to be the leader was Princess Shayla, and she doesn't really do too much this series, so unless being the magical MacGuffin character. But hey, whatever. Now, eventually they would have a slight of peace between the two of them, Taylor and Cole. They'd have somewhat respect, but she would also note that Cole fought the camera org by himself, therefore breaking his own rule of teamwork. So, yeah, Red Rangers can do that. They have the automatic law of breaking the rule of teamwork. They can say, okay, well, let's work as a team guy, and then rush off and do something by themselves. Examples, Andros. Every episode, he saw Dark Ecliptor or Darkonda. He just ran after and said, bye, team. Yeah, that's just an obvious thing for him. He's the most obvious candidate. Cole does it too several times. Wes doesn't do it too bad, actually. The Quantum Ranger, he's a 6 Ranger, so he can do what he wants. Now, another monster before the team got together, by the way, was Motorcycle Org, and this has a lot to do with her background. More further, it was the first monster that she failed to destroy, but it was able to only seal her way again, hoping it would give her more time to become more acclimated to fight monsters. It was kind of one of her first orcs that she fought, and she got her butt kicked. Now, it would show up again later on, and, well, it wrecked her day. But we kind of skipped a little ahead there. I just want to mention before we got to that character. Now, her other major standout episodes would be the Bare Necessities, where she revisits her past life as she showed more of her, where she came from as a pilot, and what happened. Now, mind you, when she crash landed her jet fighter, she never went back to the military or let anybody know what happened to her. So essentially, she's MIA or KIA. She's AWOL, essentially. And that's a big no-no for any type of military at all. But hey, she's got to save the world as a Power Ranger. So she gives up this life of dreams of being a military personnel. She really loves the Air Force. You can tell it in every fiber of her being. And in that episode, she's near the base. She looks on it very fondly and wishes she could go back, but knows that she has a goal. Now, mind you, if they find out that if she was alive the entire time or was just walking around the city, they would have come after her with every power of the U.S. government possible, just to throw her in jail for walking off of base without permission, essentially. Now you probably said, let's hold on. Well, when you signed that contract, you signed a contract. But, so she looks at this base fondly, and then she sees two kids playing around, and one's got a white shirt, one's got a black shirt, and they're twins, and she's going, okay, well, cool. And she kind of helps them out a little bit, and then they sneak into the military base, and she goes, whoa, you can't do that. It's very dangerous. You don't know what's around the military base. It could be weapons. It could be something else going on there. She's like, crap. And she ends up chasing after them and following them deeper into the base that she's never been to, and kind of stumbles into an area where you're not supposed to go, or no one else seemed to found. That's like an underground cavern that it's like a magical MacGuffin door in a military base that no one's ever seen before. So it's kind of impressive. And she sees these twins just want these two flowers, and she goes, that's weird. How did you guys pull down here, and why is no one else here that's part of the military? So she runs down there, gets these flowers for these two twins. I want to say monsters, but they're not monsters. Well, maybe. But, so she gets the flowers, returns them, and she basically almost dies in the process of doing so. But she shows she's very committed to helping these kids out because, they're kids, and it shows a softer side to her. Well, when she does so, it's revealed that these two are not just normal people, even though they never spoke the entire time and hinted at some mystical properties about them. Well, as people watch this show, we can easily pick this out, but imagine the situation, so you just watch around two kids, you would never expect them to be two wild Zords in disguise. The Polar Bear Zord and the Black Bear Zord. Now, they would immediately show up in an episode to help her in the next battle, and they kind of kick major butt as time goes on. We'll talk about them further and what their abilities are later in this episode. Now, she would, after this, face her longtime rival, or old rival, Motorcycle Org, and has this organization, explains a background story about her own personal battles against this thing. and how she didn't have the talent and skills to fight it at the time, and Princess Taylor had to seal it away again. Now, not only did she have to fight Morsley at the same time, but Zenaku, the big badass himself, the master of all Duke Orcs, kind of shows up and kicks her butt, and she loses the Bear Zords to him, in which he basically petrifies in his hands and then stashes away. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you guys don't like Zenaku, I'm sorry. He's one of the best villains out there for the series. He is beyond, in my opinion, the potential that is the Green Ranger, because he's just an awesome character. Like, his evil arc is so great, and continues to come back because they never actually beat him, and he's so mysterious. But he destroys the Rangers several different times on different occasions, and it was later until he was defeated once and for all and revealed that he's a Ranger in himself, Zenaku would eventually return a few more times, even though he's already free of his human host. So he has his own body now, interestingly enough. Now, she never fully battles Zenaku alone. Nobody does, and he beats the entire team there and then. So I probably makes her feel bad for losing, but it makes Cole look kind of weak too. But I don't think she ever sees any sort of resentment at this point. Though Cole no longer brings up the fact that orcs might have a heart and they're normal creatures that he can connect to, because that's the first thing he does is he sees an orc. He's like going, oh, I can connect to him. We don't have to fight. We can all be peaceful in the situation. And Taylor just looks at him like he's an idiot and goes, that's not how this works. And he's quickly proven wrong. That he can't be peaceful with orcs. They don't have a heart. Zenaku was a completely different situation because there was a human aspect to him. So, little change up there. Now, the next major arc that she'd be made a part of would be none other with the team up of the wildforce Power Rangers and the Time Force Rangers to defeat a new threat. A mute org rise has come from the future in order to enslave and conquer the world. Now, the mute orgs are half mutants and half orgs. They were orgs that were mated all the way up to the year 3000, met a certain mutant named Rancic and made a deal. Hey, you free us, we'll give you special powers, but you give us your mutant abilities too. And it's kind of like a mutual exchange, and it's how Rancic was able to make his whole body into a weapon. He's able to pull swords out of his limbs and stuff like that. He got it from them, and they became this new mutant abomination along with their org powers. So they were essentially like super orgs at times. Now, Taylor, the beginning of this episode arc, looks like she's driving really fast and gets pulled over by two Silver Guardians. You know what Silver Guardians are? Well, they are the Guardians from the Time Force Power Rangers, who are basically a local police force or paramilitary group that kind of has authority in a certain countage, even though they kind of shouldn't. A private company like that shouldn't have the ability to give out tickets, but hey, whatever. Now, she quickly develops a hate-hate relationship with another character, and that is Eric Myers, who gave her the ticket, and they were both very snarky about it, like, as time goes on. Now, the mute orgs would attack, the wildforce Power Rangers would fight, and then they would get their butts kicked when none other than the Quantum Ranger and the Red Time Force Ranger would appear and fight back against these mute orgs. Now, they would claim they're mutants, and then the wildforce Power Rangers would say, no, they're orgs. Reality-wise, it's both. Now, they all clash heads, and then it's revealed that Taylor and Eric have a past of just this morning getting a ticket. She is not happy about it at all, and neither is he. Like, he's like, you're a Ranger? She's like, you're a Ranger? Yeah, it's great. It's probably the best exchange of love-hate relationship, because they're literally the same character. If you think about it, they have both military backgrounds. They're both strict and rigid. They are very cold to other people and don't get close to any of them because they take their responsibility in people's lives to go there. Now, they also they kind of resent working for another Red Ranger, believing that they are the smarter of the two. Mind you, Taylor probably is. Eric, that's hard to say at times. Now, the two are always clashing heads with one another and eventually do gain some mutual respect after fighting a few battles. And then also sitting on a campfire, they kind of bond further. Eric even lends her the Quantum Defender in battle, but also letting her touch his gun while up on Animarius. So, this leads to something that he's never done with anybody else, only letting Wes Collins wield it once before, his best friend. Now, and that took a while to just lend him the Quantum Defender at all. Now, after that, it is kind of with their separate ways, and we don't see them again. She was not. She was seen at the beginning of the Forever Red episode, but that's only Red Rangers exclusively. Even though in a major threat, why would you only summon Red Rangers from the past? You could summon an entire legion of team, but hey, whatever. I didn't write the script. Now, after the battle against Master Ord, Taylor gave up her Ranger powers, as she knew one day she would have to, and returned to the Air Force, her first true love, where she is looked up as a living legend to younger members of the future Air Force as well as pilots. She frequently meets her friend, the Eagle Sword in the sky, while she's up there in her squadron. And she's basically just circling back to that. How did she able to recover position in the military after being AWOL for so long? Well, the only argument I have for you guys is that she was able to do so because Anna Miriam was revealed at the end of the series, able to land back into Turtle Cove, literally the exact spot where the water would be, lands there, and then takes off again in the sky. So it's possibly she could came up with the story and said, I know I've been AWOL for 2 years. It's not my fault. I was on a floating island that was turtle shaped from the sky, and I couldn't get off. And arguably, how are you going to get off of an island that is like a mile or two high in the sky without dying? No, they go, oh yeah. Like she could have said, oh, I can't get my parachute, it was torn by the branches, or I couldn't figure a way to do it, or something like that. Like, all she was also, I didn't know if I would survive that long. Like, and they'd probably go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they go, how did you get off? And they go, well, when it landed, I took the opportunity. I could see it was descending, so I just sit in the mountain. As soon as it landed, I just took off running and got here. And they would go, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. Deal. Like, that's the only specified way they could do it. They could look up and they'd take her under, like, rigorous training and go, that makes sense. No one's seen me since then. You're fine. Deal. That's good. You're welcome back to the military, Lieutenant. And she's back in this leadership position immediately. So, she's back to where she was, and she is the one true leader of the team. Now, mind you, if you don't believe that, I would have to say Cole is not the best leader. Mind you, he is the soul of the team because he connects with everybody else, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are the best leader, per se. There's been Red Rangers beforehand who have done more, and I'm going to say it's controversial statements that he was not the worst leader. There are way worse leaders out there, and I will give you a whole list of reasons why. Later on, I'll probably do a top 5 video of the worst Power Ranger leaders, Red Ranger leaders of all time, but hey. However, she also had prior military experience. She knew how to lead a team, and she wrote a book to protect the other Rangers, mainly Max and Danny, just to make sure they were safe, because she's been through all these different situations where you can't fight alone. You have to do these certain situations here and there unless certain understandings happen. Now, he didn't write a team. He just said go with our gut, feel with our soul, type of thing. And it's helpful. It's on a very spiritual level, but it's not always the best for leadership advice. You can't just say just go with your gut. Like, well, I'm having issues here. What would you say? Like, Taylor would go, what does this book say? Let's go from here, and let's go over these facts here and there. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about her being the proper leader or not, because this is a very controversial statement for some people, because people say Red Ranger is leader. That's it. Don't tell Dylan that from RPM, though. Now, she was also shown in Dino Thunder and Super Mega Force as quick little clip episodes, as well as Dino Fury. Now, in Super Mega Force, it's her legendary Morpher Key was shown, as well as her fighting in the battle against the Armada, while the other two were just shown in, she was shown in Dino Thunder in Tommy Oliver's quick little chronological Power Rangers thing, and the Dino Fury as driving around in their savage cycles. Yeah, that's kind of it. They're all shown. The actress herself was not shown at all. It was just past old footage from the Sentai series just going on there, or past episodes from Power Rangers itself, just trying to get some direct connections of how they're all connected in the same universe. She has also appeared in one issue of the Power Rangers comic book series, but that's kind of it in the Shattered Grid arc. But we didn't get her too much of a standing out character there. There's kind of so much going on that it was hard to say. Now, looking at her Zords. Now, she has the Yellow Eagle Wildforce Zord. There is nothing too much special. It's just basically her main motif. Zord, what she has more direct connection to it, and it is basically because she loves to fly. The eagle also loves to fly. That's her direct connection there, and it's the first Zord she saw as becoming a ranger. So you can't say anything against this Zord. Now, her two other Zords that she does get is the Bear Brothers, known as the Black Bear Wild Zord and the Polar Bear Wild Zord. Now, these two have different abilities. They take on the left and right arm of the Wild Zord Megazord. They also perform like the double knuckles they do. Dun dun. Now, the Black Bear represents fire, while the Polar Bear represents ice. And it's revealed that their animal crystals were stored in that white flower that she picked for the young twins. Now, when the two Zords would first combine with the Megazord, the Lion Zord was overwhelmed and could barely keep the Megazord together because their power was too great, or was too clashing with his own. Because it's not really specified exactly why that was. It's just their power was far too great, and eventually the power of the Megazord lost power and the Zords fell apart, and they had to find a way to heal the Lion Zord with the power of the Soulbird. Now, it's pretty impressive that these two Bear Zords, which were shown by two mute children, weren't the same way they acted, because they acted like two rambunctious brothers, constantly just fighting with each other, but also just play fighting at times. While in the thing, they are just two very quiet kids who just trying to get into a military base for no apparent reason, apparently. Now, for her arsenal of weapons, she has the Growl Phone, which is her morpher, and also her cell phone, all mixed in one. Smart. Well play. It flips it open, gets all there, and becomes the Yellow Ranger. She also has the Crystal Saber, which is usually on her left-hand side. It's where she's able to put in her little animal crystal, throws it in there, and summons the Zords. Her personal weapon, first starting off, is the Golden Eagle sword, which would form none other than the Jungle Sword itself. Now, her weapon would basically be the primary component of the sword, being the entire blade, which makes sense because it is literally only part of the weapon that is a sword. Its main attack motif was the Soaring Slash, where basically Taylor energizes it into a golden yellow energy and performs a powerful double slash across the screen that really damages, well, the monster itself. It also has soaring darts, feather-like darts, containing its hilt that she can use. She doesn't maximize it to its true effect, but it's pretty interesting. It has like removable feathers to throw as darts. I like that. I think it's a bird motif and it's pulling feathers to do so. And later on in the series, she gets another weapon known as the Armadillo Puck. Yes, well, pause for effect there. The Armadillo Puck. I don't know what it does. I forget. I didn't want to look it up because I feel as though it doesn't do too much. So imagine everyone's getting these new weapons, and the Red Ranger gets this cool new crossbow. The Blue Ranger gets this cool new sword. You're like, oh, sword? I don't understand sword. It's like a Gladius. It's pretty cool. Then we get the Rhino Blaster for the Black Ranger. Blaster, okay. And then there's the Deer Clutcher, which is kind of like a claw. You just grab forward, pull, and it slams down, and you can pick up weights not unseen before. And then you're handed like, oh, what am I going to get? Am I going to get some really cool, like a wicked battle axe or something? No, you're handed a hockey puck shaped thing, and that's what you get. That's what your weapon is. And I don't know if she ever utilized it like the other people did, but it's one of the components that would lead to the Jungle Blaster. It is essentially the magazine of the Jungle Blaster. It's where all the energy is stored. I don't know what it does besides that, though. I don't, like, do you throw it? I don't know. I feel as though there's a two-parter to this that's not explained. Like, where's the hockey stick? But hey, whatever. That is Taylor Eardhardt, and probably, as I'll say it once again, the true leader of the Power Rangers Wild Force. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's a lot to go through on this one. It was a very long episode. We're up to 35 minutes currently. There is a lot for a backstory that I wanted to cover. If I missed anything, feel free to mention it in the comments down below. I really like your comments, every single thing. If you made it this far, thank you guys so much. It really helps to support my channel, and I really care about all of you on, well, not just a personal level, but like as a channel level too. I don't do this for any type of money, so and people are like, oh, you should do a Patreon. I'm not going to do a Patreon currently at all. I have no plans to. I would like to do, if I'm going to do that, I have to have more time for my other job. Thank you guys. Have a good one, and may the power protect you always.